Today I'm selecting another of the many entries from the popular Christian YouTube channel, 1 Minute Apologist, which gives short answers to tricky or uncomfortable questions that budding apologists may look to for inspiration. Things like, can evolution explain morality? Are people born gay? Does the Bible have contradictions? As well as many other topics. While going through this channel I came across this one, Tolerance is Unbiblical, which features Josh McDowell, a well-known apologist and author who has been defending the Christian faith since the 1960s, and whose legacy is being carried on by his son, Sean McDowell. In fact, Josh McDowell's book, Answers to Tough Questions Skeptics Ask About the Christian Faith, is a book which I, as a child growing up in the 80s, discovered amongst my own Christian family's library of evangelical publications, a book with answers that felt more like excuses than solid refutations of biblical criticism. So what does Josh McDowell have to say for himself on the topic of tolerance?
You have had a huge impact in Christianity, and your influence has touched so many of us. And we know that tonight you talked about this idea of tolerance. And it seems like tolerance is a good word, but in this culture that we're living in, tolerance presents a danger to the church, doesn't it? And
well, it's evil. Tolerance is evil. You cannot truly meet anyone who lives a tolerant lifestyle. It's one thing I like about Christianity, you can live out Christianity. You can't live out tolerance. The reason is, tolerance says all values, beliefs, lifestyle, claims to truth are equal.
First of all, tolerance has nothing to do with claims to truth. That is what religions do. Oh, and certain political organizations. Tolerance means having sympathy for opinions and behaviors that are different, but it can also be described as putting up with beliefs and practices that one disagrees with.
And if you say one value, belief, lifestyle, or claim to truth is greater or lesser than another, you are a bigot and you are intolerant. You made a moral decision. Well, then a person who is truly tolerant could never say to another person that says, I don't believe in tolerance, is wrong. Because tolerance teaches all values. Well, nobody can live that way.
Alright, twice now, Josh McDowell has said that tolerance means treating all values, beliefs, and lifestyles as equal, which is categorically wrong in his eyes. Tolerance has nothing to do with equality, but in today's world it often applies itself best to those who do have claims on truth. People like Christians and other theists, who find that laws, civil rights movements, and social pressure can restrict them from speaking out against those things which they find to be wrong, distasteful, or just out of place in the world that they want to live in.
All the homos and sodomites and non-sodomites are in the lake of fire right now.
And it's basically, tolerance is there, was first really, I think, conceived to try to bring about world peace. That if everybody was equal, all beliefs, lifestyles, everything was accredited the same equality, we'd have peace. No, you have a worse world situation under tolerance.
No one has ever fought for a world where everything is equal. Human trafficking, child molestation, cruel regimes, you will always find plenty of people in the world who will feel for the suffering of others, and who will stand up and do something about it, minimizing harm and maximizing well-being of others.
Second, it was a way to marginalize Christianity. That the cross, right now, is the #1 symbol of intolerance in the world, in every country of the world.
Now Josh McDowell pulls out the persecution card. When Christians and those of other faiths were told, you've got to stop harassing girls going into abortion clinics, or you have to respect other religions because, you live in a city that has other religions, these groups say they are being persecuted because their religious privilege that once allowed them to bully, harass, and marginalize people of other faiths, or no faith, or differing sexualities, was being challenged.
The most intolerant person in a university is a Christian evangelist. Why? Because you stand for Christ being the only way.
Did you spot that? We should stand up for Christ being the only way. It's totally lost on Josh McDowell that religious beliefs, however fervent they may be, are really only opinion. He's upset and offended that he feels he cannot push an absolutist idea in the public sector. In other words, his way or the highway.
But nowhere in the Bible does it say to be tolerant. Nowhere. It commands us to love.
Well, the Bible does have some verses that do seem to be preaching tolerance, kindness at least. In Acts 10:28, Peter, one of the 12 apostles of Jesus, visits some believers and says to them, "You yourselves know how unlawful it is for a Jew to associate with or to visit anyone of another nation. But God has shown me that I should not call any person common or unclean." However, contrast this with these passages from Leviticus concerning rules for priests. "For the generations to come, none of your descendants who has a defect may come near to offer the food of his God. No man who has any defect may come near. No man who is blind or lame, disfigured or deformed. No man with a crippled foot or hand, or who has a hunchback, or a dwarf, or who has an eye defect, or who has festering or running sores, or damaged testicles." Unfortunately, there are far more verses condoning intolerant behavior than there are promoting acts of kindness. In the book of Genesis, God gives Abraham and his descendants all of the land of Canaan, leading to hatred, wars, and continuous bloodshed in the Middle East that continues to this day.
You see, when you tolerate someone, you actually debase them. When you love someone, you attribute value, dignity, honor to them. See, you love the person, you critique the thought.
In the end, I think that Josh just doesn't understand what tolerance means. To him, it's about making all things equal, including things which he and his belief system consider harmful. And although I'm sure he's no fan of murder or child molestation, I'm pretty confident that he doesn't fully accept the idea of same-sex couples getting married and adopting children, for instance. And although I agree with his statement that when you love someone, you attribute dignity, honor, and value to them, I can't quite get on board with calling the promotion of a sometimes very discriminating and hateful book as anything to do with love.